Linda?
Yes.
Meeting for Pat. Good morning. At this time, we'll call to order the Board of County Commissioners meeting for Thursday, November 30. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Schaefer?
Here.
Commissioner Allen? Here. Commissioner Klicka?
Here.
Commissioner Osterhaus?
Here.
Commissioner Ashcraft?
Here.
Commissioner Brown?
Here.
Chairman Eilert?
Here. All are present. We do have a quorum. Would you join with me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
For those who are present this morning, if you have a noise-making device, if you could turn it to silent mode or off so as not to interfere with our electronic communications. And for the record, mine is on silent mode.
So is mine, Chairman. Since you always have a fear of my phone, I made sure today.
We do have a couple of special presentations to make note of this morning, so we'll do so at this time. First item this morning is recognition of the United Community Way program that has very recently been concluded back to the 1st of November. And I'm going to ask Jeff Stewart and Tiffany Henschel. Jeff is with the Parks Department and Tiffany's with Human Resources Department, who were chairs of our United Way effort this year. So they have some special recognitions to make to our county employees, and we'll do so at this time. So the podium is yours.
Thank you, sir. I'm Tiffany Henschel with the Human Resources Department, and Jeff and I had the honor of chairing this year's campaign, and we have delightful news to share with you this morning. We have a number of prizes to give out, but before we do that, we would like to thank some folks. The campaign would not be possible without the ambassadors in each department, and so we really appreciate the support that they provided, as well as the support of the commissioners and the county manager's office in letting us endeavor in this campaign. We also had three folks, Jennifer from Parks and Rec, and Maria and Molly from the Human Resources Office, who provided a lot of support to Jeff and I as we went through this, and so we really appreciate their help as well. If you can recall back to when we came to do the kickoff, we had two goals this year: to raise $112,000 and to have 375 contributors. And those were sort of lofty goals, and we met both of those. I'm delighted to tell you we actually had 378 contributors, so we squeaked by that one, but that's about over 50 donors up from last year. And we raised $120,277.02. And so we are delighted about that. And that total includes Jeans and Susan from the county manager's office. We would like to acknowledge Susan for the last 2 years, has helped run a campaign with the city of Olathe, where we have collected clothing items. Last year we collected winter wearables. This year we collected jeans, and we collected total between the two organizations nearly 400 pairs of jeans that will go to agencies, either Catholic Charities or other agencies within the Johnson County area. So that's fabulous, and Susan, we appreciate your help. So with that, we have awards to present to departments, and those awards, if you can recall in years past, are artwork that are completed or done by our JCDS and mental health folks. And so we have some of those artists present today: Danny, Andrea, Brad, and Malik from JCDS. So if you guys want to
Would you stand, please? Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Jen and Jerome from Mental Health. I'm not sure if they're here. So you'll see the artwork in a minute, and it is awesome. So without further ado, we will get to the awards, and I'm feeling a little self-serving, which you'll know and understand in a minute. But the first one is the Powering of Caring Award, and this is the highest per capita gift, so the highest donation per employee per department. So third place is Public Works, and I think Brian was going to be here. Oh, Brian is here.
You wish you had.
Yeah, no kidding.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah, I'll get you back. Yeah. Great job, thank you.
Awesome. Second place is the county manager's office. I think Cindy Green is going to...
Very nice. Very nice.
And first place is the Human Resources Office. And Becky Miller is here. Oh, and Becky Salter. Sorry, I didn't know you were here.
Congratulations. Thank you. One is the traveling trophy, so.
Yes, there are two pieces of hardware for first place. Artwork that they get to keep and a traveling trophy they have to give back. Next is the Power of Sharing Award. This is the highest employee percentage of participation per department, and third place is Budget. And Tom is here. They had 44% participation.
Wow, that's good.
Second place is Jim's, and Joanne and Tim are here. And they had 45% participation. And first is Human Resources with 56%.
Is there some kind of connection?
I told Jeff it might look bad.
Congratulations.
And then we have the MVP award, and this goes to the department with the largest increase in contributions. And I want to just say a few words about this. This is actually going to the library this year, which more than doubled their contributions. They went from 6,600 to just over 15,000, largely in part to a competition that was engaged in with Dave Davis, actually from the Human Resources Office, Brian Behrens from the library, and Sean Casserly. So if you see these gentlemen, you will see that they have new hairdos. And so they very gamely allowed staff to pick their haircuts. And so Brian, I understand, had very long hair that went to locks of love. Dave is back to his comfort zone because he just came out of the military, and his was getting a little too long. And Sean was sporting a mohawk. So if you see Sean, he didn't have a bad barber. It was intentional. And so if you gentlemen want to come up and accept the award on behalf of the library, that would be fantastic.
You can take the, yeah.
I can get on my knees for you.
Very good. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
And then we had a couple of incentives this year, one for new givers giving at least $2 per pay period. That was a Google Home device, and that went to Megan Ossens in the district attorney's office, and a Keurig machine to a current giver that increased their giving by at least $2 per pay period, and that went to Brent Christensen in the Treasury and Financial Management Department. And then perhaps the most important award is the CMO competition, which is for a day of Hannes's time. And that award goes to whatever team of the county managers who had the greatest increase in participation. And that was Team Joe with an increase of 7% in his group. So you get bragging rights, sir. And I think that Hannes may have a future in DMV. We might have some work in HR. You can never tell. And so Thank you all again very much for your support, the ambassadors, the commission, the county manager's office, and everybody who made it possible. We are delighted to meet campaign. Thank you.
Tiffany and Jeff, great job, and thanks to all the employees who stepped up and really did yeoman's work. To Sean Casterly and his staff, evidently the haircut was an easier project than spending a week on the roof of the Central Resource Library. I'm not sure. So anyway, thanks to all for your spatial participation. And Jeff and Tiffany, thank you. Now I'd like to introduce Sharon Watson, who's director of our Public Information Office. And we have some spatial recognitions that have been received by she and her staff. And we'd like to recognize those this morning. So Sharon, the podium is yours. And where do you want me?
Right over there and behind all the awards would be great,
Okay.
Chairman. Thank
All
you
right.
so much. And I would like to ask my team to go ahead and come up and join the chairman, because the first awards that we will be talking about are for the entire team, and then we'll get down to some individual awards. This is a culmination of all of the efforts that we have made in 2017 that we submitted to various award organizations throughout the county, or throughout the region, the country as well. So we'll talk about the national awards first. The National Association of Government Communicators Team Award are those that are up there with the blue and gold, and there are 3 that I want to mention. First place for JOCO Magazine Special Public Safety Issue Fall 2016. First place for Johnson County Safety Sales Tax Education Campaign overall. Those 2 are for the entire team, of course, and then an Award of Excellence Public Safety Sales Tax Social Media Campaign, which our social media person, Amanda Keller, could not be here today. She has also joined the Sheriff's Office, and so she had some other commitments. But these efforts are really the entire team's effort. So if we could have Austin and myself, we will join the team for a quick photo op to get everything involved, and then we'll move on quickly through the rest of these.
We need to get up there?
Come on, Clicker. We want to be in this. I want to be in it.
We're crashing the picture here.
I'll stand right here. There we go.
She took a couple before we were in it, or she can Photoshop it.
So the National Association of Government Communicators is government entities all across the country that we were competing against. So to get these first place awards and Award of Excellence was quite an honor. So thank you to the team for all of their hard work. The 3CMA is also a national organization that's tied to ICMA, which many of you are familiar with, but it's the marketing piece of the 3CMA organization, of the ICMA organization. This is a team award also for the overall efforts of the Public Safety Sales Tax Education Campaign to inform our residents of the Public Safety Ballot Initiative, and that award is a smaller one over here to the left. So that one we're very excited to get as well, and pleased to have as well. Oh, sorry. We should probably have
You look like you're a
Okay, and so to get into the more specific awards, Greater Kansas City Public Relations Society of America is a regional award, and these are awards where we're competing against all of the big companies and organizations, government and nonprofit and private. These awards are certainly ones that we are very pleased with as well. Some of these are individual awards. One is the Johnson County Government 2016 Annual Report, which goes to Chris Deposoire and Lori Sand and the rest of the team. Chris did the layout, did a fantastic job. Lori, a lot of the editing. Many of the team worked on this one as well. And then the Public Safety Sales Tax Oversized Mailer, which many of you should have received in your mail, was also done by Chris Deposoire, received a PRISM Award. That's a first place award. Public Safety Sales Tax Video, which many of you saw many times as we did our presentations around the county, to Eric Schultz. So we are extremely pleased with those PRISM Awards, which are top-level awards, which are putting us in competition with a lot of great organizations throughout the metro. The Silver Awards included the JOCO Magazine's special public safety issue that you should have also received in your mailbox if you are a Johnson County resident, and feature stories by Gerald Hay on the Johnson County Courthouse and the adoptions that were done there, the 2016 Veterans Speech Public Safety Sales Tax Social Media Campaign Award to Amanda Keller, and also a webcast award for recycling that Amanda Keller did. So a number of awards that involved individual efforts as well as team award efforts. So I'll pause for a quick photo. All right, thank you so much, team. And just a couple of one-on-one awards that we'll get to next. Did you want to comment, Chairman? Okay, I'm sorry. Thank you. So if you all would put those back on the table and join me over here with the exception of Gerald and Sherelle. If you two will stay up there, please. The National Association of County Information Officers, many of you are familiar with NACIO. This is an award organization that we submit a lot to, and Gerald Hay and Amanda Keller were winners of this competition. We were awarded an award of excellence for, or let me start at the top, I'm sorry, Superior for Feature Writing and Superior for Community Events, including our Veterans Day event. Those go to Gerald and also everybody involved in Veterans Day. Award of Excellence for Best Facebook Page, and Award of Excellence for Best Twitter Feed. Award of Excellence for Speeches for the State of the County Address, meritorious for news writing, for the all-electric House move, and meritorious for feature writing, Families Made at the Courthouse. So thank you to Gerald Hay on this one, and Amanda Keller, who again couldn't be here. So for this picture, we'll just have Gerald and the chairman, and I'll have Sherelle step over for just a second until the next one. Sorry about that, Sherelle. Yes. There are many more, as you know, to go with this certificate, but they can't hold them all. All right. Okay, and for the next one, this is for the North American Mature Publishers Association. Gerald's trying to run from the camera. For the many awards that this organization focuses on magazines that are for seniors. As you know, the Best Times is for residents who are 60 and over in Johnson County. And I won't even go through the entire list, but Best of Show, first place on many things, second place and third place for writing. A lot of this obviously is Gerald's effort because of all the writing he does, magazine layout, etc. There are also team efforts involved in this one as well, as far as editing, and Sherelle for creating advertising that won awards as well. So we appreciate all of these efforts. Thank you, guys. Oh. And the final one for Gerald, so don't run away just yet, Gerald. is one that I want to highlight, the Lifetime Achievement Award. This is an amazing, amazing achievement, and I just wanted to highlight this one for all of you to recognize the talent that we have in Johnson County among the team, and especially to the recognition that Gerald Hay received for this particular award, which we've had folks like Walt Bodine, Steve Rose, those types, Larry Moore have been in the category of winners, and this year it was Gerald Hay. So to receive that type of an award tells you the talent that we have on the Johnson County team, and I'm sure that in the future, many of those individuals standing behind me can put their name in for that as well, and we'll hope that they can do the same thing. But this is a significant award for all that Gerald has done in his career in Johnson County, working many years at the Olathe Daily News as my boss, no less, and also continuing his writing here for Johnson County and helping us to win an award table like you see before us. So thank you, Gerald, for your hard work. And there were a few more awards up there that are also for Gerald that are from the Kansas City Press Club. Too many to name, but they are listed on our PowerPoint here. So I just want to say a special thank you to this entire team for all of their hard work throughout 2017 and for their help in everything we do. It's not anything an individual effort. It's all the team that makes this possible. And thank you, Commissioners, for your support of the Public Information Office.
Okay. Well, Sharon, thank you very much. And to your team, thanks, guys. This year has been a very, very eventful past 12 months, and thanks to your hard work in many areas, we've been successful on ideas and projects. So again, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you. Well, I'm just going to add one comment to all the recognition that Gerald Hay has received. He is an extraordinary individual, and we're so pleased to have his talents demonstrated every month in writing for the various publications and information that's shared with our taxpayers across the county. Gerald came to us after a career at the Olathe Daily News, as Sharon mentioned. He is also the one responsible for the Veterans Day programs and activities that the county sponsors this past year at the Korean War Memorial. He does this with a passion, and one reason for that is Gerald served 2 terms, 2 tours in Vietnam. In the mid to late 60s, he was a member of the 3rd Marine Division and served 2 consecutive tours in Vietnam. He told me with 15 days R&R in between. And his primary base was at a place called Dong Ho, which is just south of the DMZ zone at that time and north of Khe Sanh. One of his activities for a period of 4 months was as what they call a tunnel rat. The myriad of tunnels that were available to the Viet Cong had to be cleared out. I can't think of any more dangerous position to be put in than to serve in that capacity. And for that, he received the Bronze Star because of his efforts to rescue a member of the team who had set off a booby trap down in the tunnel. So he's an exceptional individual, and the recognition is very well deserved. But I wanted to share that with you and demonstrates the commitment and the quality of individuals that we have working throughout our county organization. Thank you all. At this time, we'll turn to the public comment portion of our agenda. If there's anyone present who would like to address the commission on an item which does not later appear on the agenda, I invite you to the podium, state your name and address. Limit your comments to 5 minutes. Thank you all.
Good morning. My name is Mike Jensen, 1257 East Butterfield Place, 15665 Moonlight Road. I'm representing myself and a group of citizens called Concerned Citizens for Responsible Government. And we've just watched a development process for the last 6 months that we feel like didn't allow us a voice, a meaningful voice in the process. So I'm going to talk about the process this morning a little bit. I own 2 small businesses. I wouldn't consider myself a great businessman, but I like to eat, so I've learned to make a profit. When we look at any decisions that we make, we look at the pros and the cons. And as I've looked back through the record, the written record of the public meetings, Mr. Eilert, that you've referenced numerous times, the public meetings have a glaring lack of any of the cons of the project that was put forth. So as we read the record, we hear about Lennox Logistics. It's going to bring jobs. So that's a pro. We all want jobs. It doesn't say anything about the jobs paying, starting at $11.31 an hour, which is a poverty wage in our county. It doesn't say anything about the jobs being 22 below zero with hazardous material, anhydrous ammonia going over the employees' heads all throughout their shift. So, and then it talks about the land lease. The county's going to make some money. That's great. We want the county to make money. We live in a great county, and we're not against the county making money. The county doesn't make money. We don't enjoy all the things that we enjoy. Then it also talks about rail revenue. We're going to make a little money moving some rail cars. So these are all pros, right? They're all good things. What's glaringly missing is all the cons of this project. And to me, that's a problem in the process if we can't talk about the negatives of a project that's coming in. The negatives are, I already mentioned, $11.31 an hour hazardous jobs. The company's track record, what the company's bringing in. Let's talk about their track record with anhydrous ammonia. We've talked about that over and over. Not good. Let's talk about their track record with their own employees. They were actually being sued by their own employees in Edwardsville as they were trying to bring this project in. Why didn't we know about that? Isn't that pertinent? The fact that they're bringing in anhydrous ammonia, 20 tons of it, isn't that information that we would need to make an intelligent, informed decision about this project? You all knew that the public didn't want it. We came and told you over and over we didn't want it, so we won't go into that one. But that's a con. That's a negative. If the people that elect you don't want the project, that's a negative. That's a con. So, and then let alone the proximity of anhydrous ammonia to within 600 feet of the sheriff's office and the adult detention center, that's a con. That's a negative. In fact, there's an agricultural reg in the state of Kansas that doesn't allow anhydrous to be stored within 1,000 feet of a public meeting place. So that's a con, trying to bring it in that close. Then, let alone the 60 rail cars a month, what's that going to do to the crossing on 56 Highway in Gardner? Every time I go to my place out there, if there's a train there, it's a mess. It's backed up all the way to 35. Nobody talked about that. What about the wear to the roads? Nobody talked about that. There was some talk about the multiple deviations to the PE3 zoning, but we really feel like our voice wasn't heard about those issues. So we've asked several times whether the county commissioners and all the people involved in planning knew about all the negatives. And the answer we got, especially when we asked about the ammonia was, well, I can't recall, I don't remember. So what we need to know before we approve projects, you guys need to have all the information to make informed decisions when you vote on things that are going to affect our futures, our livelihoods, our property values. So we really want to see the process changed to ensure that all the cons are brought up in these in all these projects also. That's what we're upset about. We feel like either you didn't know or you didn't care. I really want to believe that you didn't know. Because if you didn't care, that's a whole different conversation. So we feel like every citizen, I feel like Gary Hayes and his wife, who has breathing difficulties, has a right to know. He lives 6/10 of a mile away from where you approved this. And his wife has trouble breathing good air. He has a right to know. Everybody that lives around that project has a right to know. So I'm asking that the process is changed. Not that we just have some public meetings where we know that something's going in, but where we have to do all the investigation and vetting of a project. We feel that that's our elected officials and our government's responsibility to do the vetting and to know the cons. Thank you very much for...
Thank you. Someone else?
Jana Walker, 25088 West 150th Terrace. There's so much to say, but once again, I'm here on behalf of numerous neighbors in Olathe, Gardner, friends who cannot be here because they're at work. And so I've been asked to speak on their behalf, and that's why I've come here as many times as I have. Before, we were saying to please rescind your vote, but because of the lawsuit now, I guess the right thing would be is hopefully that you could all come to a resolution, a quick one, where lineage no longer comes back into Johnson County. I think it's pretty obvious that they are not loyal to any of you. They have not been here to defend you. They're just not a reliable, trustworthy company, and I'm sure that none of you want to do business with them ever again. I know I wouldn't. Also, somebody said, well, after this is over, what if they try to retaliate? I said, they who? They said the BOCC. I said, retaliate? How? That doesn't even make any sense. Against whom? Well, the community, the people who have spoken up. Are you worried? I said, why would I be worried? That's ridiculous. They're above that. That would be very unprofessional and childish behavior. So I don't see that happening. So with that being said, I just want you all to know this is not personal. This is us being here. Really, we are caring when we come to speak. And I know that Mr. Ashcraft understands that because I've talked to him personally. And I've told him that this is not us against him or you. And he understood it and he respected it. And he said it takes a lot of courage to come up here. But I don't feel courage when I'm up here. I shake. It's not something I want to do. But I care. And I do believe that after this is all said and done, that you all will show the community that you do care and that we can work together and turn this negative into a positive thing for the future. That I do believe that you can do that and will do that. So that's what I do believe. Well, I know Mr. Ashcraft for sure. He understands that. And I respect you and I appreciate it. And I appreciate that you understand that this is not personal. And that's really all I have to say today.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Someone else? If there's no one else to be heard, the public comment portion of our agenda is concluded. I do have one item. I will be signing administrative resolution number WD 17-033, enlarging the privately financed sewer district and provide for the assessment of all applicable fees, charges, and levies of the consolidated main sewer district in the vicinity of 159th Street and South Rose Hill Road. There is no consent agenda today, as we did not have a meeting last week, so each item will be considered separately. That's listed on today's agenda. So we will move to that action agenda. Will the clerk please read the first item?
Item number 1, consider approving the November 2, 2017 business session minutes.
Okay, all were present for that meeting. Do I hear a motion?
Second.
Motion's made and seconded to approve the minutes for the November 2, 17 meeting. Are there any corrections or additions to be noted? If not, please call the roll.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Aye.
Commissioner Allen? Commissioner Clickham?
Aye.
Commissioner Osterhaus?
Aye.
Commissioner Ashcraft?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Aye.
And Chairman Eilert.
Aye. Motion carried. Item number 2.
Consider appointing Brandy Butcher as the 4th District Representative to the Library Board through April 30, 2018.
Okay, Mr. Osterhaus.
I'll move that we approve Brandy Butcher as the 4th District Representative to the Library Board through April 30th, 2018.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the appointment. Is there anyone present who would like to address the commission on this item? There being none, it's back before the commission. If there's no comments or questions, the clerk will please call the roll.
Commissioner Schaefer.
Aye.
Commissioner Allen. Commissioner Clickham.
Aye.
Commissioner Osterhaus.
Aye.
Commissioner Ashcraft.
Yes.
Commissioner Brown.
Aye.
And Chairman Eilert.
Aye, motion carried. Item number 3.
Consider authorizing the reallocation and expenditure of fund balances reserves for FY 2017 in the amount of $200,000 in the general fund, $690,000 in the risk management fund, $350,000 in developmental supports funds, and authorize the increased transfer of the associated expenditure authority in the Johnson County Library Operating Fund to County General Fund in the amount of $83,077 for FY 2017.
Mr. Vatney.
Yeah, good morning, Commissioners. Dave Rotney with the county's budget office. As is explained here, we're looking to do about 4 things. The first part would be to do a use of reserves in the amount of $200,000 out of general fund for district courts. As you may recall, when we put together the 2016 budget, we have taken a new approach in how we're dealing with our child in need of care cases. That was one of those things where over a period of time we were beginning to see cost escalators as it related to that, and in order to kind of better control our cost as it relates to the child in need of care case work, we implemented a system where we're now doing contract work with attorneys. Those attorneys that we've contracted with brought their prior casework with them, and then any new casework. 2016 was really a transitional year for us, though, in that didn't get implemented until March. So the prior system had some 60 active attorneys doing litigation on child in need of care casework. Those individuals were able to retain their pre-existing child in need of care casework. So last year there were some 36 attorneys that were still actively doing child in need of care case work. That number's down to around 20 for 2017. We've seen a drop, it looks like, in projected spending on child in need of care case work in the amount of around $400,000. And that's given that there's an actual increase in caseload by about 50, which would represent about a 6.8% increase. So I think in 2017, we're beginning to see the price control, the cost control on the child in need of care casework taking effect. But again, it's a time issue where eventually I think this will work its way out once the pre-existing child in need of care case work is no longer necessary, and all new cases are just assigned to those 24 contract attorneys. So that's the first part. That's the use of $200,000. The $200,000 estimate.
Let's stop there. I think maybe a further explanation.
Sure.
Previous to this change that we're in the process of making or have made, attorneys were for child in need of cases, which we had to pay for. Those legal fees were on an hourly basis of some kind. Is that right?
That's correct. We're statutorily obligated to pay those costs.
Right.
And this is just, I think, a better way in which to manage.
So the change was, rather than pay on an hourly basis, to do a flat contract for that service. But there are still 20 cases still active that are on the old hourly basis. Is that right?
It's probably more than 20 cases. It's 20 attorneys
20
doing
attorneys,
case work.
okay.
I'm not sure exactly what that split looks like, but
So that's what the $200,000 for, is to cover that expense.
Yeah, you're correct. And I think that's a high side estimate. We're guessing it's going to be a little bit less than that, but we were wanting to err on the side of being able to meet our mark on that.
Mr. Ashcraft, you have a question on that?
A follow-up, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate your question. I was going to mention that I talked to Mr. Vratney briefly yesterday, and conceptually, what staff has proposed makes a whole heck of a lot of sense. It changes the motivation, if I can be so bold, of the attorneys to work the case rather than work the payment system. If I'm overstating that, I apologize, but I think we're seeing the benefits of that. But one of the questions I asked Mr. Vratney is, and as you know, I'm fiscally rather conservative, so that's an issue. But the other side of that is, what is the system in place for us to monitor the actual service that these young people are receiving? Is it equal to or better than? You know, arguably, I would hope it's better than what they had before. And if we're monitoring that, and if you have any report, or we'll have a report on that, because I want you to be successful, but not just in saving money, actually impacting that service. So,
And Catherine Stocks is here. She can probably speak a little bit more to it programmatically. So,
thank you.
Catherine.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Catherine Stocks, the Court Administrator. And that's a very good question about, we actually struggled with that of going to a contract system and having a set dollar amount for individuals. Would services end up suffering related to this change? However, we found that there was huge incentives for these attorneys because they're often solo, small practice. And so they were willing to go into the contract because they now have guaranteed biweekly payments, which is huge if you are not in a big firm. So that financial security was a really good motivator for these individuals who are actually getting paid just under $47 an hour now for these contracts. However, we have two really important systems in place as far as ensuring that the quality of care, the quality of advocacy by these attorneys maintains. It was actually already at a very good level. And so how do we maintain that level? Well, it was two things. By being an attorney, you have a specific set of rules that you have to follow to zealously advocate for your client. So that's one. If they weren't doing it, they could be reported to the bar. But two, sync rules under statute have another set of rules for zealous advocacy. So there's two different sticks, you could say, that make sure that the attorneys are doing what they're supposed to be doing. Also, they're in court often enough that the judges can see how these cases are being handled. That's another really good way to keep tabs. But we found that now cases are being docketed much more streamlined. So a sync attorney that may have been coming to court on 10 different cases, 4 different days in the week, they could be handling all 10 of those cases in one day. So that's where a lot of the efficiency has come in, of maximizing that attorney's time of being in the courthouse instead of waiting for their case to be called.
Yep. Makes good sense. Thank you.
Catherine, thank you very much. Good job to everyone involved. All right, next item, David.
Yeah, next item, Risk Management Fund. This is another year we've had excessive claims. As you recall, we had the windstorm damages out at Executive Airport. In fact, I think the next item kind of is related to that. We've had some water losses, and that'd be i.e. flooding at New Century Air Center, and then there has been significant auto damage claims that are pending to be paid by year end. So that's in the amount of $690,000. Developmental supports. We're having to use fund balance out of that fund to give us the expenditure authority necessary in their grant side. You may recall back in August of 2016, we received some independence grants, JCDS did, and we thought we may have to come back to alter the 2017 budget to accommodate those expenses. So this is an item that happened after we had set the 2017 budget. And being such that we were thinking that we need to set this at $350,000 to offset those expenses, but it should be a wash from a grant revenue standpoint. So this is just more of a taking care of that item in terms of an expenditure standpoint. The last item here is, you may recall when we were putting together and doing the 2018 budget, we decided as an organization, the library and county would share the human resources function for county library. and there was a transfer of 2 FTE that was built into the FY 2018 budget, and for 2017, this is the amount necessary to essentially pay county for the county side of our costs for library for 2017, for about the half year that our Human Resources Department has been doing that function. So with that, I stand for any questions you may have.
And again, this is a procedural process that we have to go through, in other words, to authorize these transfers or
Correct.
these amounts that were not included in the specific budgets.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone present who would like to address the commission on this item? Being no one to be heard, it's back before the commission. Mr. Osterhaus.
Move to authorize the reallocation expenditure of fund balance reserves for fiscal year 2017 in the amount of $200,000 in the general fund, $690,000 in the risk management fund, $350,000 in the developmental supports fund, and authorize the increased transfer and the associated expenditure authority in Johnson County Library Operating Fund to County General Fund in the amount of $83,077 for fiscal year 2017.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the authorization and the reallocation of fund balances as noted. If there's no further discussion, clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Aye.
Commissioner Allen? Commissioner Clickham?
Aye.
Commissioner Osterhaus?
Aye.
Commissioner Ashcraft?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Aye.
And Chairman Eilert.
Aye. Motion carried.
Thank you.
Next item.
Item number 4, invitation for bid number 2017-083. Consider authorizing a contract with Cunningham Construction, Inc. for rehabilitation of T-hangars Oscar and Romeo at Johnson County Executive Airport in the amount of $1,068,827.64.
Mr. Otto.
Good morning, Commission. Yesterday, the Johnson County Airport Commission met and considered what is in front of you, and I'd like to ask that this item actually be passed over and reconsidered on probably closer to December 21st meeting. And the reason for that is we had a bid come in for the repair of these 2 T-hangars. There's also out in the street right now a bid for the replacement of other T-hangars. And it was the desire of the Airport Commission to see the totality of this proposal before moving forward with one part of it. So I'm here to give you back a little bit of your time and pass over this item.
Okay, well, that's fine, but as I understand it, the decision is whether to rehab or start from the ground up.
Correct. That's exactly right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I do have a question. Aaron, why was there only one bid?
There was a mandatory pre-bid for this that had 12 interested parties, is my understanding, but one ultimately submitted. I could speculate that I think we'll hopefully see more bids for the replacements because that's a whole kit unit.
Yeah.
This is a rehabilitation of 2 buildings that are damaged in kind of some unique ways, so maybe the risk kind of scared people off, but I'm grateful we had at least one bid that came in very close to the engineer's estimate at least.
Well, in a general sense, and I appreciate what you're saying there, but I guess this also goes to procurement, those who are doing this. Whenever a single bid goes in, I sure would like to see a survey of why. So we're always kind of tuned in. So if we need to update our procurement policies or processes, we're always tuned in because the benefit to the county is to get as many people involved in the process. So thank you.
Mr. Brown.
Commissioner Clickett, just as a contractor, I can tell you a couple of things. One, the bandwidth of the construction community is as stretched tight as it can possibly be, so it does not surprise me to get a low number of bids under any scenario. The fact that they got 12 that showed up to the pre-bid is actually impressive, and from that perspective, that could be interpreted to be a good job of going out, reaching out to the construction community. Also, I, as a contractor, when these kind of opportunities come across my desk, I pass on these because they're very hard. They are time intensive. Rebuilding an old structure that you had nothing to do with to begin with is cause for pass and let somebody else handle that. So that's why you saw one bid on this.
Great.
I feel very comfortable in that.
Thank you. All right, do I hear a motion to continue this item until December?
So moved.
Pardon? Is that the correct date?
21st.
21st, okay.
I move.
We do have a motion and a second to continue this item to date specific. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Schaefer?
Aye.
Commissioner Allen? Commissioner Clickham?
Aye.
Commissioner Osterhaus?
Aye.
Commissioner Ashcraft?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Aye.
Chairman Eilert?
Aye. Motion carried. Are there any other items?
No, sir.
All right, we'll turn to reports and communications. Mr. Zacharias.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a few items this morning. First of all, let you know that the City of Olathe is planning to issue industrial revenue bonds for a project at Mahaffey Street, on Mahaffey Street, 15520 South Mahaffey Street, 8,600 square foot facility, about $2 million. There's a cost-benefit analysis in your package for this activity. Again, just for your information about it. It's a pretty straightforward project. Additionally, there's information in your packets that are proposed TIF district with the Market Lofts LLC in the city of Overland Park. You have a good amount of information in your packets about this particular project, but they've not yet passed the ordinance to go ahead and start the TIF district as really as a precursor, giving you background information. They expect that there's going to be some discussion and perhaps an approval of a TIF district in January, and then we'll have a 30-day clock start from that point. But it gives you all the background information about this project, which we appreciate. Third item is a TIF district project. It's actually a project plan within an already approved TIF district area. This is the area for the city of Shawnee, 75th Street in Quivira, for the Westbrook Village project, and you have information in your packets about that. No action required from you, just information purposes. Finally, additionally, you have information from Siri talking about our November indicators. What I basically say in the November indicators is pretty much status quo you've heard in the past. Unemployment rate is still very low, 2.9%. We're looking at about a 2.4% increase in sales tax revenues overall, which is what we've been tracking the last several months. Housing sales a little bit behind, but new housing starts a little bit ahead than normal. And part of the biggest change is the number of multifamily houses, dwelling units that really has dropped off quite a bit. So that's kind of the general summation of the Siri report. And then finally, information about the investment policy objectives, information that was handed out last week, but we wanted to kind of make sure that the public had access to this information. So that's in your packets. And last item is property tax statements. Just to let you know that they are going out, and that information is responding to various citizens out there. You have information about those being mailed out to various entities. So with that, I'll stop and answer any questions.
Questions? Mr. Ashcraft.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple of questions. I was going to ask, recently, and I apologize, I was out before Thanksgiving, but just to follow on, there have been a couple of news reports that the Show Me Institute and the Hall Family Foundation, separate reports, had actually done some kind of analysis on TIFs and the impact it has on jurisdictions and taxing regions, and I was wondering if those reports were something that we could follow up on, maybe get copies. I'd be interested because they've been somewhat critical of the utility of those TIFs, and I'd like to understand the context. And I think it's probably focused on the Missouri side, but not sure. So.
Yeah, we'll be glad to get that information. I think it really is to the Missouri side, but we can certainly get that report and get it to you. Yes.
The second item, Mr. Chairman, has to do with the Johnson County investment policy objectives. That was talked about by Mr. Franzen, Thomas, Mr. Franzen, a few weeks ago, and I appreciate that. The one question I had was one of the measures, one of the objectives talks about sufficient liquidity, and the current percent, or what's in this report for the end of September, is 52%, and the target is 25%. So will we be seeing that coming down to that level, or shooting for that level? Is that the intent of that measure?
I'll let Tom respond. Go ahead.
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. Tom Franzen, Treasury and Financial Management. To answer your question, Commissioner Ashcraft, we should see that drop slightly, but we don't expect to see that drop significantly at this point.
So is the target 25%? Is that what you mean by slightly?
The target is 25%, and if you recall our conversation the last time we discussed this document, we talked about the cash needs for the county are usually covered through the revenues that we bring in on a daily basis. We set that target at 25% as a floor, that we don't want to go down below that. We have the investment review group, which you chair, which tracks this information more closely, and the reality associated with this is we have the reserves that we manage are going to keep us above that 25%.
Okay. So but we will see it go down closer to 25%.
I don't expect it to get close to the 25%.
I would offer an observation that a target at this level for, I would call it a cash flow issue, and with the current interest rate environment, I'd rather see it at 50% than 25%, quite frankly. As I look around at various investment portfolios with the interest rate risk that has been outlined by members of the Federal Reserve, I think it's certainly appropriate to stay at a higher level than 25%. Interest rates go up and you have investments in bonds, the value of those bonds go down. And so I think that approach is entirely appropriate. I would be concerned if in the current environment we were at 25%, quite frankly.
Well, Mr. Chairman, it had been 50%. That's why, I mean, I tend to agree with you. Having that 50% as a target, as a kind of a baseline, makes sense.
Well, yeah, but if the 25% is a floor, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
So, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Is there anything else, Mr. Zacharias?
That's all, sir.
All right, Mr. Kleffner, we'll get a update, the status of the audit recommendations as of September of this year.
Yes, sir. Chairman, Audit Commissioners, good morning. Ken Kleffner from Audit Services. And as just noted, I'm going to give you an update on the third quarter results. We opened the quarter with 47 recommendations in our inventory. 20 recommendations were added to it, if you will, as a result of our transition audit in the Sheriff's Office. 11 recommendations were implemented during the third quarter, and the narrative, if you will, below the table there represents the audits from which they originated from, and as you can see, there's a very good representation of cross-section of audits being worked on. One recommendation was closed without action, and I'll address that in just a moment, the specifics of that. But the overall net activity, if you will, leaves a balance of 55 open recommendations at the end of the quarter. I also want to remark, and I want to highlight that there's another good news story from the table. Overall, this indicates, in my opinion, the collaborative effort between management and audit services to implement recommendations in a timely manner. If you recall, not too long ago, we had older recommendations, and through the effort of about the last 12 to 18 months, we've worked on those collaboratively with management, and I see that to be a good news story. The over 2-year one, and I'll address the specifics of that in just a moment as well, sort of an anomaly. Okay. At the conclusion of each audit, we sit down with the client and ask them to rate each recommendation using the scale that you see on the bottom half of that slide. A crucial rating is considered to be the most critical or valuable. Not valuable, I'm sorry, it's the most critical to their operations, and a valuable rating is considered to be the least critical. The scale is a measurement of how management views the significance or impact on operations. The table on the top of slide 3 illustrates the criticality rating that management has assigned to the audit recommendations remaining in inventory. So as you can readily see, 93% of the recommendations open are considered either crucial or significant. They're important. Slide 4, that arrays the open recommendations by the audit they originated from, and I'll just pause for a very brief moment so that you can look at that. The next slide, the one recommendation closed this quarter without action originated from the Sheriff's Office transition audit. If you recall, we suggested to Sheriff Hayden that he develop a policy limiting the amount of overtime a sworn officer could work on an annual basis. The sheriff non-concurred with that recommendation because he believes the impact of recent hiring efforts and the number of sworn personnel now on board will dramatically reduce overtime. So we're closing that recommendation. The next slide, this happens to be the one recommendation that's the oldest in our inventory, but the management of IT audit was published in 2012. It's old. The audit objective was to determine if the county was receiving best value from its investment in IT. The one remaining recommendation, there's really 3 parts to it, recommends that all IT be centrally procured from a single source, not from a single source, but from a single organization within the county, that all IT be purchased from purchasing's recommended source, and that it be approved by the IT Governance Council. The Chief Information Officer plans to implement this recommendation no later than the end of this calendar year. Some background information on that. An FTE was given, or allotted, I should say, to the CIO. It's been reviewed by HR. He's starting the recruitment process, so there's a lot of action that's been taken to implement that so far. Moving on to the next slide. In 2016, we conducted a joint audit with Housing and Urban Development, the Office of Inspector General, and that audit looked at the City of Olathe's housing programs. One of the findings from that audit focused on $576,000 of salary costs that the city had charged to the Community Development Block Grant Program. And the issue at the time was that the City of Olathe could not support these charges. Since the audit was published, the city has provided adequate support for these charges, and I'm pleased to report this morning that the city has provided that documentation to HUD and has satisfied the audit recommendation, and the issue is now closed. The next slide, closed audits. This is another good news story. As a result of action taken during the third quarter, 2 audits are closed. The countywide review of purchase card use and the mental health center remittance processing audit. So in closing, I'd like to close with the same comment each quarter, and that is this process is working. It's supported by management. The process improvements are being made, and internal controls are being strengthened where needed. So I conclude my update, and I'll stand for any questions you might have.
Questions? Mr. Ashcraft.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I was just going to note that we did have an audit committee meeting since Mr. Kleffner's last report. He went into much more detail on this. It was a good conversation. I want to thank Ken, Mr. Kleffner again for his efforts and the county manager's response.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, thank you. That concludes our reports from management. So we will move to commission comments. Mr. Schaefer.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Given the time of year, and we've had 2 weeks of separation, there's been a lot of things to report about, and there's a number I'm going to save for other commissioners because most of us were there at most of these events, so I'll report on a couple of things that were specific to my area. But most importantly, this evening, if you want to see Santa tonight, you can come to Prairie Village, Corinth Square. There's going to be a tree lighting ceremony this evening from 6 to 7 o'clock, so hope to see you there. I'll be there, okay? So ho, ho, ho. I hope you can make it, okay? And I'll have my hat on. Last Tuesday, our Consolidated Fire District Number 2 board met. We had sold our bonds successfully. We approved the bonds, so there will be a new fire station in downtown Prairie Village, if you can call it downtown next to City Hall, downtown Prairie Village. But the groundbreaking for that event will be December 7th, right after one of our meetings here. So if you can make that, we'd like to see you there. 2 Saturday evenings ago, Jason and I were there at the Northeast Johnson County Chamber annual gala event, always a festive occasion, and that's a local area. But most importantly, personally for me, 2 weeks ago yesterday, I had a brand new baby granddaughter born, my first one, so I want to let everybody know that. Thank you. Please, commissioners, fill in all the other blanks I've missed.
Well, thank you for noting my presence at that Northeast Johnson County Chamber.
Well, that's right. Mr. Chair was there as well. That is correct. We're at the same table, and I apologize for that. There you go. Okay, thank you.
Sitting across the table from you doesn't count, is that?
Yeah, that's why I'm giving you a chance to fill in, okay? There we go.
No problem. Mr. Klicker.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to extend appreciation to Cindy Green and the team for their efforts on the legislative conference or meeting that we had this past week over at the Arts and Heritage. It was great that all of us commissioners were there, and the attendance from our legislative delegation in Johnson County were heavily attended there, and it gave us a chance to kind of get our heads together on some of the issues that are pressing to our county. And this was one of the better ones I've ever sat through, and I thought it was extremely productive. I appreciate all the staff and the leadership, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Ashcraft.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple of things. to step back for a moment on the investment policy objectives, you used the term floor for that measure, or were you proposing, rather than it be a target, that it be stated as a floor?
I was referring to Mr. Franzen's comment. I thought he said 25% was a floor.
Yeah, well, it's written as a target. That's,
oh, I see.
Well,
okay.
I mean,
that
changing that
needs to be
makes
clarified
sense.
then.
Yeah, I just wanted to follow on with that. The other thing, Mr. Chairman, as I understand, there was a meeting of the, and I'll call it the Fire Services Committee or Task Force, and I understand that you're reconvening sometime early next year, and I look forward to the progress that you're able to make on that.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Mr. Allen?
Just the groundbreaking for the new Ladex library, and almost all of us were there. A good event, and libraries are very important for the county, and we're in the process of opening 2 new ones, and frankly looking at an additional one. So good for the libraries.
Yeah. Okay. Mr. Osterhaus.
Well, I'll echo the comments for the libraries and the legislative dinner. They were very, very well done, and I will say it was really nice to see a good contingent across political spectrums of our delegation there. Sometimes we don't have big turnouts for that, and I think it was good, and it shows kind of the solidarity of our state legislators, so good to see that. I have a slight request of my peers up here. As you know, I sit on the JCDS board as our liaison, and this last meeting we had a speaker, Olga Deckman. She's part of our Project Search, one of the graduates, and she spoke a lot about the need to be on time for jobs and things like that, and the problems she was having with paratransit. So I was hopeful that if 4 of us agree, because it might take a little bit more than 4 hours, we might have, I'm going to guess Maury's going to get assigned it, but we might have Maury look into maybe correcting some of the issues that she was having, or maybe just take a look a little closer at some of those things with paratransit and see if we can make that a more robust experience and a better experience for our clients.
Meeting individual needs in that regard continues to be a challenge, but no problem, I don't think, for anybody to take a look at that, Mr. Thompson. And
maybe pending involved as well, since it involves transit. So we'll check that out.
Yeah.
If I can add, Mr. Chairman, it'd probably be appropriate that we make sure that we've got the folks from who are operating our paratransit program at the table, because I'm a little bit concerned on the lackluster here of the flex services that's supposed to be helping in that issue. And that's concerning me, and has concerned me for about a year and a half here.
Good point.
Okay.
We'll check it out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Brown.
Thank you, Chairman. Kind of piling on to the earlier award ceremony for Gerald Hay, I would just one more time like to call out what a great job Gerald does and what an asset he is to have around, and how much I enjoy visiting with him, and proud of him for his accomplishments. Many of those awards on that table in front of us are his and have his name on them. Additionally, I had reason to be at the DMV a couple of days ago in Olathe, getting license plates for a vehicle, and couldn't have had a more positive, smooth, easy experience. So just wanted to pass that on. Then for those who may miss on the Prairie Village visit with Santa, he will also be in Olathe tomorrow night, so at the community center. So if you can't make it tonight to see Commissioner Schaefer, you can come and see me tomorrow night in Olathe. And congrats, by the way, on the grandbaby. I don't have any. I'm not pushing that issue. I'm not fast forwarding it. But that day will come, and I am looking forward to when that day occurs. And then a comment just quickly about the Costco shooting that occurred. To me, personally, a personal statement that it is the power of the Second Amendment that allowed many people, in my opinion, to not perish that day. And thank you to the off-duty officer that was there for having the courage and the training and the skill to handle that situation. And it's unfortunate for a gentleman who lost his life as a result of that. But I'm proud of the man that did it, and I'm proud of the Second Amendment that allowed him to have that weapon. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. 2 or 3 items. The United Community Service of Johnson County is hosting their 50th anniversary luncheon on Tuesday, December 5th I don't know how many will be able to attend that, but congratulations on the 50 years. And also, the Overland Park Chamber of Commerce is having its 50th anniversary luncheon and annual meeting on Wednesday, December 6th. And also on December 6th is the annual reception and dinner sponsored by the Council of Mayors, and I think commission members as well as staff have been invited to that one. So those are the activities in the coming week that several of us will be at. And again, I want to say thank you to the members of the legislative delegation who were able to take the time to come and meet with us in regards to our legislative program proposed, and appreciate their time very much. We do have a request for an executive session. Mr. Allen.
Mr. Chairman, for agenda review, approximately 10 minutes.
I don't think so.
I'd go with 30.
Yeah, I think it's going to be,
There's more than one page. Let's take at least, 30 minutes for agenda review. We may have to revise that, but, so take about a 5-minute break and add 30 minutes to it.
Okay, so you want to start approximately at...
It'll be about 11:15.
Okay. I move that the board recess its open meeting and convene an executive session at approximately 11:15 a.m. for a period of 60 minutes for the purpose of discussing personnel matters of non-elected officials, to protect the privacy of employees, and to conduct performance reviews, and to reconvene an open session in this room at approximately 12:15 p.m. or there soon after, as the executive session may end.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded to approve the request for an executive session. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Schaefer?
Aye.
Commissioner Allen? Commissioner Clickham?
Aye.
Commissioner Osterhaus?
Aye.
Commissioner Ashcraft?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
aye.
Chairman Abbott?
Aye. Motion carried. One little housekeeping item. If our executive session does conclude successfully at 12:15 or 12:30, I'm asking the commission, is there any reason to have lunch sandwich provided during that executive session, or can we forego lunch on our own? Seems to me like if we can conclude by 12:30 or so, we don't need the sandwich. So, okay, Cindy, you're off the hook. All right, thank you very much. That concludes our regular agenda. We are adjourned, and we'll come back for agenda review. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Record will reflect that following the 30-minute executive session, we reconvened into open session. There is a requirement for additional time allocation in the executive session. Mr. Allen?
The time frame, 30 or to 45 minutes, 30 or?
Let's do 30, we can always come back.
Okay. I'd move that board recess its open meeting and convene an executive session at approximately 12:15 a.m. for a period of 30 minutes for the purpose of discussing personal matters of non-elected officials, to protect the privacy of employees, and to conduct performance review, and to reconvene an open session in this room at approximately 12:45 p.m. or as there soon after as the executive session may end.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Schaefer? Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Clickham?
Aye.
Commissioner Osterhaus?
Aye.
Commissioner Ashcraft?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Aye.
And Chairman Eilert?
Aye. Motion carried. Please go ahead and continue into recess. The record will reflect that at approximately 12:45 p.m. we reconvene in session. We have a motion to extend the executive session.
And the time frame again would be?
Let's do
15 minutes, 20 minutes?
20 minutes.
I move the board recess its open meeting and reconvene an executive session at approximately 12:45 p.m. for a period of 30 minutes,
20 minutes.
20 minutes, for the purpose of discussing personal matters of non-elected officials, to protect the privacy of employees, and to conduct performance reviews, and to reconvene an open session in this room at approximately 1:05 p.m. or soon thereafter as the executive session may end.
Motion has been made and seconded. Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Schaefer? Commissioner Allen? Commissioner Clickham? Commissioner Osterhaus?
Aye.
Commissioner Ashcraft?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Aye.
Chairman Eilert? Okay.
Motion carried.
Okay, we're done with that. Let's see what we're going to do now.
The record will reflect that at approximately 1:05 p.m., we reconvened into open session. We do have a couple of business items to address. We do have a motion in regards to the auditor's pay situation, so do I hear such a motion? Mr. Allen.
I'd move that the county auditor, Mr. Kleppner, receive the 3% merit raise.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to authorize a 3% merit increase for the county auditor's position. Any further questions or discussion? All right, clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Aye.
Commissioner Allen?
I'm sorry, aye.
Commissioner Klicka?
Aye.
Commissioner Osterhaus?
Aye.
Commissioner Ashcraft?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Aye.
Chairman Eilert?
Aye. Motion carried, so is approved. Do we have a motion in regards to the county manager's employment status?
Mr. Chairman, I do. Before I make the motion, I would like to make a statement. The motion I'm about to make has been done with a great amount of deliberation. It has been done with a great amount of seriousness and conversation and contemplation, and it has not been, this motion is not made lightly. It is not made with any glee or joy whatsoever. I will read the motion. I move that the board officially provide notice to the county manager that the board will not renew the employment contract and that the contract will terminate at the end of the current term on December 31st, 2017.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Osterhaus. I will simply make this comment. I am not going to support this motion. I think it is the wrong action on the part of this county commission to move forward with this motion. As I look at the accomplishments of this county over the past decade and even in the past year, the national recognitions that this county has received from peer organizations across the country is exemplary. Our county is in the best financial condition. We've made hard decisions to make sure that we can deliver the county services that we are required to deliver and that we need to deliver in an effective and efficient manner. Much of that credit goes to the leadership of this county, and that's the county manager and his staff working with the commission. I think this is absolutely the wrong decision. If you look at the accomplishments of this county, this action does not make sense. Any other comments? Mr. Allen.
I would strongly echo the chairman's comments. It's personally been a pleasure for me for the last 9 years to work with Hannes. He's an outstanding individual. In my opinion, he has always represented this county in a professional manner. And as an elected official for 28 years, and probably been involved in several thousand votes, this is the worst vote I've ever heard taken. It just shocks me. I think it's uncalled for. It's not necessary. This county is in outstanding shape under his leadership. Frankly, I don't understand it.
I should note, and I hope this is even the feeling of those who are supporting this motion, that this does not reflect in a negative way on the character. There is no action on his part that can be construed as being inappropriate, whether it's financially or in any other way. I think there are individuals who have specific concerns that can be addressed, and there's a better way to address them than this particular action. So I think it's important that his professionalism is not under question, and his allegiance and integrity to this organization and the taxpayers of this county is not under question at all. So, any other comments? Mr. Klicka.
Mr. Chairman, I agree with your comments relative to the county manager. He's a very decent individual, very ethical, very straightforward. But I've chosen, after 5 years, going on 6 years of the commission, I've made it. I just feel it's time for a direction in leadership in where this county is going, and to push it up a notch, and to go forward from that standpoint. So, from that standpoint, this is no reflection on the individual himself. And if anyone has any intention to that, they're dead wrong.
Agreed.
Any other comments? Mr. Ashcraft.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would agree with comments related to County Manager Zacharias. No reflection whatsoever in terms of his personal integrity and intent. He has a good heart and has always demonstrated that. My vote will be based upon, I think, as Mr. Klicka has just pointed out, a desire to step up the leadership perspective and have a changing course for county operations and county government.
Any other comments? Okay, well, the motion is before us. Clerk, please call the roll. The motion is to provide 30-day notice as required by the contract that beyond December 31 of this year, Mr. Zacharias' services will no longer be required in Johnson County. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Schaefer?
No.
Commissioner Allen?
No and hell no.
Commissioner Klicka?
Yes.
Commissioner Osterhaus?
Yes.
Commissioner Ashcraft?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Chairman Eilert?
No, in the most strongest terms. This is not the correct action to take. And I'm sorry to say that on the same dais with my colleagues, but this is not an appropriate action. So my vote remains no. So the motion did carry. Are there any other items? If not, we are adjourned.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.